So after 8 long years, Hollow Knight's Silksong has finally released, and people have once again become obsessed with the character Hornet. Gee, I wonder why. That explains a lot. Normally we look at certain characters on this channel, we typically stick to the writing of them. And while Hollow Knight and its recently released former DLC turned to a standalone game, Silksong are teeming with lore that has a very interesting story that's told between the gameplay, the dialogue of the characters, and even the background. There's been a ton of videos talking about the lore of the world of Hollow Knight, and no doubt once Silksong has been in the public zeitgeist for a while, it'll probably get the same treatment. Although, considering how I'm late on this, it already has. And while I don't think I'm qualified to really do a deep dive lore into the character of Hornet today, I think what we can do on this channel is talk about this little spider bug's design. Still, warning for spoilers for Hollow Knight and Silksong. I'm MangaKamen, and... Before getting into the actual design, it's important to discuss who Hornet is. Because when it comes to character designs, you want to be able to see things about the character, not only through their design, but their abilities too. Now, if you've been hiding under a rock for the last few years and don't know what Hollow Knight is, and its DLC turned sequel Silksong, you'll have to notice that pretty much every character in the game is an insect, based on insects or insect adjacent. Like, the only creature I think that isn't an insect the entire series so far is some jellyfish called Uma, but whatever, it's still considered an insect due to the Wikipedia, but whatever. And Hornet has those insectoid elements, especially when we consider the good portion of the character design from Hollow Knight have similar traits to their bodies. Sometimes they'll wear a single piece of clothing, they'll have their mask, and etc. And when you consider some important NPCs in the original game, such as the Pale King, the former monarch of the OG game's setting Hollow Nest, it makes sense, since the Pale King is Hornet's father. There would be similar traits passed down. Hornet's mother is Hera the Beast, queen of the spider tribe that was tucked away in a hidden part of Hollow Nest. So yeah, Hornet is more of a spider than anything else. And she's also royalty, to the point where she's called the Princess Knight. In the original Hollow Knight game, she was a protagonist and a 2-time boss fight, and was promoted to be the main character status for Silksong. And obviously, when you consider all of this, as well as the overall design of the games, you can tell there's obvious bug elements here. Yes, we're talking about bugs, and there's a lot you can do with insectoid-based characters, with Hornet having a spider-based design, especially when she does this. Though with her name being Hornet, those who aren't familiar with the character will probably wonder why she's named that. Well, I can't tell you that, but she did train with the Hive Queen Vespa with her needle weapon, who was based on bees. We should also talk about Hornet's personality, which in the first game, she seems to be a lot more reserved against the Knight, the main character of the game, and for a good reason. She's essentially the protector of the various parts of Hollowness, such as the cast-off shell and the black egg, and when the infection awakened in the kingdom, she began to search for answers as to what was happening to her home. And with Silksong out, while we can see that Hornet's personality remains for the most part serious, she'll often keep to business whenever she interacts with the rest of the bugs in the game, which I appreciate, especially since the previous player character in this series was a silent protagonist, but there's more to her character. Take, for example, Hornet loves fluffy things. We learn this through some of the bestiary sections that she writes herself. Huge and soft. A fantastic combination ruined by their haunted aggression. I would very much like to feel their soft fur, if only it wasn't so hostile. So close to a perfect furred form, if only they'd been able to breed out the spines. And honestly, that's great. While the character has this guard brought up, Hornet has a softer side to her, one that she prefers to keep to herself, which when you look at her cloak covering most of her body, it makes sense. Then again, when there are a number of residents in Farloom wanting to violate her personal space, I don't think anyone could blame Hornet for laying down a smackdown. And I love this sort of thing. Hornet has layers to her personality, and I'm not just talking about the clothing here, though that's also very important as well, to the point where she'll snap someone's neck to get her cloak back. There's a lot to say about Hornet as a character, with her personality having layers, especially for a game that is essentially Dark Souls with bugs. And anyone who's been in Bilewater, yeah, sure, that's a name that most people recoil at. But now that we've established Hornet, let's actually talk about her design. Now let's dig into Hornet's design. It's simple looking when you just give it a good look. Color-wise, there are only 3 main colors used for her: white, black, and red. Though if you also want to count her needle weapon, you could also add silver or gray to it. Now, aside from me loving this color palette to the point that even my current avatar has it, this combination of colors has a fair bit of symbolism to it. Black is often associated with mystery and elegance. There's also the basic stuff such as death, mourning, and sadness, and considering that pretty much every character in this game that has a white mask has those dark eyes, that can say some things. Red, despite being a striking color that catches the player's eyes, has many symbolic elements to it. Love, passion, energy, strength, but also carries meanings of danger, aggression, and warning. And white has a connotation of purity and hope to it. It's an interesting combination, with the choice of colors working really well with Hornet, especially with the game design taken into account. The color choice is something that immediately catches the player's eyes when they boot up the game. I've talked about this before, but red is a very prominent color when it comes to character designs, especially in games. And when you need to rely on the visuals to help fight against monsters and time your movements and attacks, a design like this will stand out a lot easier, which also plays into the fact of the level design. There are a number of areas in Silksong that don't have the same color palette as Hornet, and even when there are obviously more warm colors used in the background, Hornet's design does stand out thanks to the white of her mask. From a game design perspective, Hornet does have a very classic, if not effective, character design for when you're needing to stab bugs in the head or get onto a ledge. Heck, I brought up how this design philosophy works with another iconic video game character who has a similar color scheme. Yep, Devil May Cry's Dante, and I have to say, it's always a testament. Having a large amount of primary color to help draw the player's eye to the screen is key, acting as a signifier for the character. Though I should probably get back to Devil May Cry 3 sometime. Oh well. Of course, when you use this design philosophy, you'll have to be able to include other signifiers for the characters so you have access to the main color they have, hence why Hornet's white mask is also key to this. Not only do the horns help give her a unique silhouette, but the stark white coloring adds a good signal to the players as well. Throw in the fact that there's a lack of details on the character, say for the folds on a red cloak, and you've got a character design that's easy to remember and also easy to draw. Not that I think you don't need to make all your characters simple. The fewer the details, the easier it is for an audience to recognize, however. Hell, I recall a long time ago that the easier the character is for someone to draw, the better the design will be to be memorable. It's why when you look at some iconic characters, you'll notice that they have a lot of simple details to them and have round features. This also ties into the animations for the character. Every dash, leap, and needle slash is smooth, with her cloak fluttering with every movement she makes. Her design feels real and it comes to life, and thanks to the simple design elements, it can also allow her to be a lot more freedom to make expressive animations too. And I do have to give a lot of credit to the fact that when you look at insects, they tend to have a lot of details to them. That's understandable considering the whole exoskeleton thing they got going on. The Hollow Knight franchise doesn't necessarily go against having detailed character designs, especially when you look at some enemies and bosses, like in Silksong you had the fourth chorus. But when you look at a rather chaotic looking fight like the fourth chorus, you'll see that Hornet still manages to stick out, despite there being a ton of things happening on the screen at a time. There's also the aspect of looking towards the original player character, the Knight from Hollow Knight. A character design that while has similar elements to Hornet, it certainly has its differences. Different heights, different horn shapes, a rounder feature, and obviously a different color cloak. The bluish grays that the Knight has to offer is a good complementary contrast to Hornet, and when you consider her initial role in the original Hollow Knight, effectively being a rival-like character turned ally, it adds a good stark difference between the two. There's also the fact that Hornet's design, especially in comparison to the Knight's, has an elements of her personality. A predatory, if not regal, vibe where the Knight has a much more neutral and unassuming figure. Even more so when you look at their shells, with Hornet having a lot more sharp features while the Knight has rounder ones. The Knight was effectively a blank slate, helped by the fact that the Knight never actually spoke in the original game, for good reason. Meanwhile, Hornet is quite the opposite. The red cloak and sharp mask denote an actual personality to her. A character who has gone through a lot, becoming a warrior and dealing with some royal drama, it really makes you feel like you're controlling an actual character and not a player avatar. Character design is important when it comes to these sorts of things, especially when it comes to games. Whether it be a great visual markers for to keep the player's eye on, or to express a character's personality, it's almost a necessity to take these into account when you have a character like Hornet as the player. That's really the number one question now, isn't it? Because yeah, I've expressed that Hornet's got a simple design and with almost anyone with any skill can actually draw without issue. I mean, have you seen what's under her cloak? She's practically a stick figure under there. And that right there, that's half the reason the internet lost its mind over her the second Silksong dropped and people got to see the gameplay. You take this minimalist bug warrior design who's all sharp lines and red cloak on the outside, and boom, underneath it's just this sleek, no-frill silhouette that's begging to be doodled and allowed countless artists to effectively impose their own design elements onto the character. It's not just the drawing part though. That simplicity feeds right into the memes, and man, the memes exploded post-launch. Remember the wait for Silksong, years of radio silence and fans turning into gold? Clown Song, that's the big one, where everyone slaps clown makeup on Hornet or the Knight every time there's a Nintendo Direct with no news about the game. Bait used to be believable became the catchphrase, with Hornet smoking a cigarette in ASCI2 art or whatever, looking all done with the hype. And now that the game's out, the hoverability, that bit where her cloak puffs up like a balloon, and it's instant meme fuel. Doesn't help that in a technical sense there's nothing but the cloak that Hornet's got over her stick-like figure, but let's get real. It's not just the memes and the crafts keeping her viral. Silksong made her the protagonist, and suddenly everyone's deep diving into her personality. Fans love how she ties back to Hollow Knight's lore without retconning. That royal drama, the void hints, but now you're her, feeling every needle throw and cloak flutter. Even the spoilers have folks obsessing over her arcs, like bearing two kingdoms' burdens but playing it off cool. It's that mix, simple to love, deep to impact that's got the whole net buzzing. And yeah, the thirst is real too. Can't ignore that. All those fan arts, a good chunk's got her in peak performance poses, thighs and all, cause the game's animations make her move like she owns the place. And almost rightfully so, since she kicks all kinds of ass. So in the end, the obsession boils down to this. Hornet's design is a gateway drug. Simple enough for quick sketches and cosplay, mutable for the wait and the win, and layered enough to spark real talks about her story. Silksong didn't just release a game, it unleashed a swarm. And honestly, it's fascinating to watch. Hornet was already a pretty popular character back when the original Hollow Knight came out, but now that Silksong is here, put her directly into the spotlight and expanded her character in not only the writing department, but also the gameplay one too. It opened the floodgates for countless people to talk about the character. And for good reason. This really is a testament to the magic that is character design, and how such a simple little stick bug with a big head and a red cloak can really light the internet on fire. Hell, more than likely for this video's thumbnail, I'll probably have taken some creative liberties with Hornet's design to appeal to the more enthusiastic fans of the character. Which, hey, don't hate the player, hate the game that is the internet algorithm. But don't let that take away from the majesty that is Hornet's design and characterization, let alone the glory that is Silksong, especially in a time period where game companies are willing to steal so much money as they can while not giving you the greatest of quality. Silksong is a beacon in the fog, and maybe that also plays into a part why so many people have fallen in love with the series. After all, there's so much content, so much fun gameplay, save for Biowater, and all for a measly $20. Silksong and the precursor Hollow Knight crafted characters and worlds, wrapping them up in a whole element of surrealism, taking inspiration from Metroid, Zelda, and Mega Man. And there's plenty you can miss in the games, hailing back to the time where people could explore these worlds of mystery and bugs, and the characters are a part of that world, and it's great to see so many people become obsessed with a world that was created by Team Cherry. Sure, the obsession can go a bit far at times, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a passion for a character like Hornet, and I think that's what a lot of artists and creators strive for, to have a character enter into the public zeitgeist, become loved, and have a near countless amount of content being created about them. It's a testament to the character, the world they're from, and the creators that they can be the basis for so much creativity. But what do you guys think about Hornet, Silksong, or even this various topic? Meanwhile, I think I'm gonna check out something new while you leave a comment down below. Damn, that's awesome. I'm MangaKamen. Later.